Something about her energy feels different, doesn't it? There are moments when attraction isn't spoken, yet it's deeply felt. Stoicism teaches us to observe without illusion, to notice patterns without becoming consumed by them. When a woman is sexually attracted to you, it often reveals itself in subtle, consistent behaviors, not exaggerated signals, but quiet truths repeated over time. She finds reasons to be physically close. Not in an obvious or forced way, but naturally. She chooses the seat beside you, leans in when you speak, or allows small touches to linger just a second longer than necessary. A man once noticed this at a gathering. Every time he shifted position, she adjusted too, always within his space. It wasn't accidental. It was comfort mixed with desire. Her eye contact becomes deeper and more intentional. She doesn't just look at you, she studies you. There's a softness, sometimes a playful intensity, like she's trying to understand more than your words. A short moment in a cafe revealed this clearly. While others spoke, her attention stayed fixed on one man. Even in silence, her eyes kept returning to him, as if drawn by something she couldn't explain. She reacts to your presence differently than she does with others. Her tone changes, her energy lifts, and there's a subtle excitement in how she engages with you. At work, a woman who was usually composed became noticeably more animated around one particular man. She laughed a bit louder, smiled a bit longer. It wasn't performance, it was instinct. She becomes aware of her appearance when you're around. Adjusting her hair, fixing her clothes, or subtly enhancing how she presents herself. A man once noticed that whenever he entered the room, she would quickly check her reflection. Not out of insecurity, but because his presence mattered to her. She initiates conversation, even without a clear reason. Attraction often seeks connection. She doesn't wait, she creates opportunities to engage with you. In a quiet gym, a woman who rarely spoke approached the same man more than once, asking simple questions she could have figured out herself. The questions weren't the point. Being near him was. She remembers small details about you. Things you barely recall mentioning. Attraction sharpens attention. A man casually spoke about his favorite meal weeks earlier. Later, she brought it up effortlessly, even suggesting a place that served it. It showed she had been listening more closely than expected. Her laughter feels genuine and frequent around you. Even your simplest jokes seem to land. During a group hangout, one man noticed that his comments, though ordinary, always made her laugh. With others, she was quieter. With him, she was alive. She tests your confidence in subtle ways. Playful teasing, light challenges, these are often signs of interest mixed with curiosity. A woman once joked about a man's choices, smiling as she did. It wasn't criticism, it was engagement. She wanted to see how he carried himself under pressure. She mirrors your behavior unconsciously. Your posture, your tone, even your pace of speaking. Sitting across from each other, a man crossed his arms. Moments later, she did the same. He leaned forward, she followed. It was silent synchronization. She creates moments of isolation with you, pulling you slightly away from the group, finding one-on-one time without making it obvious. At a party, she gradually shifted conversations until it was just the two of them in a quieter corner. No announcement, just a natural drift. Stoicism reminds us not to chase every signal, but to observe patterns. One sign alone means little. But when these behaviors repeat, align, and feel effortless, they reveal something deeper. Attraction is not about forcing outcomes. It is about recognizing what already exists and responding with calm confidence. Remain grounded. Do not become desperate for validation. Let her actions speak, and let your presence remain steady. If you found value in this, follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. She becomes comfortable with silence around you. Attraction is not always loud. Sometimes it shows itself in peace. When a woman is drawn to you, she doesn't feel the need to fill every moment with words. She can simply exist beside you, present and calm. A man once sat with a woman during a long car ride. There was no constant talking, no forced conversation, just quiet understanding. Yet, the connection felt stronger than words could express. She gives you her full attention when you speak. In a distracted world, attention is rare. When she is sexually attracted to you, she naturally prioritizes your voice, your thoughts, your presence. At a small dinner, conversations overlapped, phones buzzed, people drifted in and out. But whenever one man spoke, her focus locked onto him completely. It wasn't politeness, it was genuine interest. She finds subtle excuses to touch you. A brief touch on your arm, brushing against you while passing, playful contact that lingers just enough to feel intentional. While walking through a crowded space, she gently held onto his arm longer than necessary. It wasn't about balance, it was about closeness. Her voice softens when speaking to you. Tone reveals emotion more than words. Around you, her voice may carry a warmth or intimacy that isn't present with others. In a group setting, her voice remained neutral with everyone else. But when she turned to him, it became softer, almost instinctively more inviting. She asks personal questions and listens closely to the answers. Attraction seeks depth. She wants to know more about you, not just what you do, but who you are. A man once mentioned his childhood briefly. She later returned to it, asking thoughtful questions that showed she wasn't just hearing him, she was understanding him. She makes herself available to you. Whether it's replying quickly, adjusting her schedule, or simply being present when you reach out, effort becomes visible. A busy woman with little free time consistently found moments to engage with one man. It wasn't convenience, it was priority. She shows a hint of nervousness around you. Even confident individuals can display subtle nerves when attraction is involved. Small fidgets, slight hesitation, or moments of self-awareness. A woman who was usually composed stumbled slightly over her words when speaking to him directly. It wasn't weakness, it was emotional investment. She compliments you in a meaningful way. Not just surface-level remarks, but comments that reflect observation and appreciation. Instead of generic praise, she once told a man she admired how calm he remained under pressure. It showed she was paying attention beyond appearances. She keeps conversations going longer than necessary. Even when there's a natural endpoint, she extends the interaction, another question, another comment, another moment shared. After a conversation had clearly ended, she paused, smiled, and brought up something new. She wasn't ready to leave his presence. She responds positively to your humor and presence consistently. Not occasionally, but repeatedly. Consistency reveals truth more than intensity. Over time, one man realized that no matter the setting, her reaction to him never faded. It remained warm, engaged, and genuine. Stoicism teaches restraint in interpretation. Do not rush to conclusions based on one moment. Observe patterns, remain composed, and avoid projecting desire where it may not exist. True attraction is steady, it doesn't confuse, it clarifies. At the same time, understand this: attraction is not something to chase endlessly. It is something to recognize and respond to with dignity. Your role is not to force connection, but to embody presence, confidence, and control over your own emotions. When you notice these signs aligning naturally, without effort or manipulation, then you are not imagining it, you are observing reality. Stay grounded. Stay aware. Let your actions remain calm and intentional. Follow me for more insights on attraction, human behavior, and self-mastery. She becomes more playful around you. Attraction often shows itself through lightness. Teasing, joking, small challenges, these create tension in a subtle way. A woman once playfully challenged a man's opinion during a conversation, smiling as she did. It wasn't disagreement, it was engagement, a way to keep the connection alive. She pays attention to your reactions. When she says something, she watches how you respond. Your smile, your tone, your body language, it matters to her more than it should if there were no attraction. During a conversation, she made a small joke, then immediately looked at him, not the group, to see if he laughed. His reaction was the one she cared about. She finds ways to extend physical proximity. Even when there's space, she chooses closeness. Sitting nearer, standing within your reach, not creating distance unless necessary. At an event with plenty of seating, she consistently chose the spot beside him. Others noticed it, but she acted as if it was the most natural thing in the world. She becomes slightly more expressive emotionally. Her smiles are fuller, her reactions more visible, her presence more open. Attraction lowers certain guards. A man observed that while she remained reserved with others, around him she allowed more emotion to show, laughing freely, reacting without restraint. She initiates subtle one-on-one moments. Not always obvious, but intentional. A question directed only at you, a reason to step aside together, a moment carved out from the crowd. At a gathering, she casually asked him to help her with something minor, leading them away from everyone else. The task didn't matter, the moment did. She mirrors your energy level. If you are calm, she becomes calm. If you are more animated, she meets you there. This alignment happens unconsciously. During a quiet evening, he spoke softly, and she matched his tone. Later, as the mood became lively, her energy rose with his. It felt synchronized. She remembers and brings up shared moments. Attraction builds on connection. She revisits things you've experienced together, even small ones. Days after a brief interaction, she mentioned a small joke they shared. It showed that the moment stayed with her longer than expected. She allows conversations to drift into more personal territory. Without forcing it, she becomes open to deeper topics, thoughts, experiences, perspectives. A casual discussion slowly turned into something more meaningful, and she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into it, comfortable with the depth. She shows curiosity about your life beyond the surface. She's not just asking what you do, but how you think, what you value, what drives you. A man once noticed that her questions went beyond the usual. She wanted to understand his mindset, not just his lifestyle. She doesn't rush to leave your presence. Even when there's no clear reason to stay, she lingers, just a little longer than necessary. At the end of an evening, while others were quick to go, she remained, continuing small talk that could have easily ended. Time with him felt different. Stoicism reminds you to remain steady through all of this. Do not become overly excited by signals, and do not ignore them either. Balance is strength. Observe without attachment, respond without desperation. Attraction, when genuine, is consistent. It doesn't rely on one moment, it reveals itself across many. Your role is not to chase or force meaning, but to stay grounded and aware. When you recognize these patterns, move with calm confidence. Speak clearly, act intentionally, and respect both yourself and her. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. She becomes more attentive to your needs without being asked. Attraction often expresses itself through quiet consideration. She notices when you're uncomfortable, when you need something, or when your mood shifts, and responds without making it obvious. A man once mentioned he was slightly cold in passing. Moments later, she adjusted the environment without drawing attention to it. It wasn't duty, it was care driven by interest. She reacts subtly to other women around you. Not always jealousy in an obvious sense, but a heightened awareness. Her body language may shift, her attention may sharpen, or she may re-engage you more directly. At a social event, when another woman held a man's attention for too long, she stepped back in with a light comment and a smile, naturally reclaiming the interaction. She values your approval more than she admits. When she shares something, an idea, a story, even a choice, your reaction carries weight. A woman once spoke about a decision she made, then paused slightly after explaining it, watching his response closely. His approval mattered more than she expressed. She becomes slightly protective of the connection. She doesn't want interruptions to take away from your interaction. She may redirect conversations or subtly hold your attention. During a group discussion, she gently steered the focus back to him whenever it drifted too far away. It wasn't control, it was investment. She shows patience with you. Even if you're quiet, distracted, or not fully engaged at times, she doesn't withdraw quickly. Attraction creates tolerance. A man who wasn't always the most expressive still held her attention. She gave him space, but never pulled away completely. She responds to your presence before your words. Sometimes, just you entering the room changes her expression. A small smile, a shift in posture, a moment of awareness. At a gathering, she was mid-conversation with others, but the second he walked in, her eyes found him first. It was instinct, not effort. She gives you subtle compliments through her actions, not just words. It's in how she treats you, with a bit more warmth, a bit more respect, a bit more softness. A man realized that while she spoke kindly to everyone, her tone with him carried something extra, an unspoken admiration. She allows vulnerability in controlled ways. Not full openness immediately, but small glimpses, sharing something personal, revealing a thought she doesn't share easily. One evening, she mentioned something meaningful from her past, then quickly softened it with a smile. It showed trust, even if she didn't fully expose it. She keeps a steady presence in your life. Not overwhelming, not distant, just consistent. Attraction doesn't always rush. Sometimes it remains quietly present. Over weeks, a man noticed that she never disappeared completely. Even with space, she always found her way back into conversation. She respects your space while still staying connected. This is one of the strongest signs. She doesn't chase excessively or pressure you. Instead, she maintains a balance, close, but not overwhelming. A woman would engage fully when they spoke, but never forced interaction when he was unavailable. That balance made her presence feel natural, not forced. Stoicism teaches discipline in perception. You are not meant to react emotionally to every signal, but to observe them with clarity. Attraction is not proven in a single action, it is revealed through patterns that repeat without force. Remain grounded in yourself. Do not lose composure in the presence of interest. Let your confidence remain quiet, your actions measured, and your intentions clear. When attraction is real, it aligns without struggle. You won't need to question every moment. Instead, you will see consistency, feel ease, and recognize the connection without confusion. Stay observant. Stay composed. Let things unfold naturally. She invests her time in you without making it feel like effort. Time is one of the clearest indicators of attraction. When a woman is drawn to you, she gives you moments she could easily spend elsewhere, and she does it willingly. A man once noticed that despite her busy schedule, she consistently made space for brief conversations with him. They weren't long, but they were intentional. She chose him in small, repeated ways. She becomes more aware of your emotional state. Attraction sharpens sensitivity. She can sense when your mood changes, even when you say nothing. One evening, a man tried to hide his stress behind a calm face. She didn't ask directly, but her tone softened, her questions became more thoughtful. She noticed without being told. She subtly aligns her plans with yours. Without making it obvious, she finds herself in the same places, the same environments, the same moments where you are present. At a regular spot he visited, she began appearing more often. Not every time, but enough to feel intentional without being obvious. She gives you a different kind of smile. Not the polite smile she gives others, but something slower, more genuine, sometimes accompanied by a pause, as if she's feeling the moment. A man once caught that smile across the room. It wasn't quick or casual. It lingered, carrying something unspoken. She listens between your words. Attraction makes her attentive not just to what you say, but to what you mean. She picks up on tone, pauses, and underlying emotion. During a conversation, he made a passing comment that others ignored. She didn't. Later, she returned to it, showing she understood more than he expected. She values your presence over the activity. It's not always about what you're doing together, but simply being around you. Two people once spent time doing something ordinary, almost boring. Yet she remained engaged, because the activity wasn't the focus, he was. She shows consistency even when there's no immediate reward. She doesn't disappear when attention fades or when things slow down. Her behavior remains steady. A man noticed that even during quiet periods, she still reached out occasionally, maintaining the connection without pressure. She becomes slightly more open to your influence. Not in a submissive way, but in a receptive one. She considers your opinions, your suggestions, your perspective. He once recommended something casually. Later, she mentioned she tried it, and appreciated it. It showed she valued his input. She creates subtle emotional moments with you. Small pauses, shared looks, quiet exchanges that feel deeper than they appear. In the middle of a conversation, there was a brief silence where they just looked at each other. It lasted only seconds, but it felt significant. She doesn't rush physical or emotional escalation, but allows it naturally. Attraction rooted in genuine interest doesn't force progression. It unfolds at a pace that feels right, without resistance. A man once realized that nothing between them felt rushed, yet everything was slowly deepening. There was no pressure, only flow. Stoicism reminds you to stay disciplined in how you interpret all of this. Attraction is not something to obsess over, it is something to observe with clarity. When you remain grounded, you avoid misreading signals or acting out of impulse. Your strength lies in your calm. Your power lies in your control. Do not let desire cloud your judgment. Let actions, both yours and hers, remain intentional and measured. When these signs appear consistently, without confusion or contradiction, you are not chasing something uncertain. You are simply recognizing what is already there. Stay steady. Stay aware. Let your presence speak louder than your need for validation. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. She becomes more present when you're around. Not just physically, but mentally. Distractions fade, her attention sharpens, and you can feel that she's fully there with you. A man once noticed that even when her phone buzzed repeatedly, she ignored it while speaking with him. Others didn't get that same focus. She subtly seeks your validation through her actions. Not in a needy way, but in small, quiet checks: how you react, what you think, whether you approve. She once shared a small achievement and paused, watching his reaction closely. His acknowledgement meant more than the achievement itself. She adjusts her behavior to match your standards. If she senses what you value, respect, calmness, discipline, she aligns with it naturally. A man known for being composed noticed that around him, she carried herself with more intention. It wasn't forced, it was influenced. She maintains eye contact during emotional moments. Especially when conversations deepen, she doesn't look away quickly. She stays in the moment with you. During a serious discussion, while others avoided eye contact, she held his gaze steadily. It showed comfort and connection. She finds reasons to laugh and relax with you. Even in tense environments, she allows herself to soften around you. At a stressful gathering, her demeanor shifted when he joined her. She became lighter, more at ease, almost as if his presence changed the atmosphere. She becomes slightly more expressive with her body language. Open posture, facing you directly, small movements that show engagement. While speaking in a group, her body remained angled toward him, even when others were involved. Her attention had a clear direction. She allows conversations to linger emotionally. Not rushing to change topics when things become meaningful, but staying there a little longer. A simple topic once turned personal, and instead of pulling away, she leaned into the moment, letting the silence and meaning settle. She shows appreciation for your presence without saying it directly. Sometimes it's in her smile, her tone, or the way she reacts when you arrive. A man once entered a room quietly, but her reaction wasn't small. Her expression shifted instantly, as if his presence added value to her moment. She becomes more relaxed in her guard around you. Attraction builds trust over time. She doesn't feel the need to be overly defensive or distant. Over several interactions, he noticed she stopped holding back as much. Her responses became more natural, less filtered. She stays connected even after moments end. The interaction doesn't feel temporary. There's always a continuation, another message, another conversation, another shared moment waiting. After a brief meeting, she followed up later with something simple, keeping the connection alive without forcing it. Stoicism teaches you not to be controlled by what you observe. These signs are not commands for action, they are information. Your responsibility is to remain composed, to interpret wisely, and to act with clarity rather than impulse. Attraction, when genuine, will not feel chaotic. It will feel steady, repeated, and natural. You won't need to overthink every detail. You will simply notice a pattern that doesn't break. Stay grounded in yourself. Do not lose your center trying to gain someone else's attention. When you remain calm, aware, and disciplined, you naturally stand out without effort. Let things unfold. Let actions speak. Let consistency reveal truth. She becomes more intentional with how she communicates with you. Her words carry a bit more care, a bit more thought. She chooses how she speaks to you, not casually, but with awareness. A man once noticed that while her conversations with others were brief and surface level, with him, she took her time, responding thoughtfully, never rushing her words. She subtly tests your emotional stability. Attraction often comes with curiosity. She may say something slightly challenging or unexpected, watching how you handle it. During a conversation, she made a teasing remark that could have thrown him off. Instead, he stayed calm and smiled. Her reaction shifted. She became even more engaged. She keeps a certain mystery around you. Not revealing everything at once, but giving you pieces over time. This creates depth and maintains interest. A woman once shared parts of her life gradually, each conversation revealing something new. It wasn't distance, it was controlled openness. She becomes more aware of your approval in group settings. Even when others are present, your reaction still stands out to her. At a gathering, she told a story to everyone, but her eyes returned to him repeatedly. His response was the one she truly measured. She allows moments of silence to feel meaningful instead of awkward. With attraction, silence doesn't create discomfort, it creates presence. Sitting together without speaking, there was no tension. Instead, the quiet felt natural, as if words weren't always necessary. She responds differently to your attention compared to others. Your compliments, your words, your presence affect her more deeply. When others praised her, she smiled politely. When he did, her reaction lingered, slower, more genuine. She subtly positions herself within your space over time. Not in one obvious move, but gradually becoming a consistent presence in your environment. A man noticed that over weeks, she became part of his routine, same places, same moments, without ever announcing it. She becomes more expressive in her eyes and facial expressions. Attraction often shows where words are controlled. During conversations, her expressions reacted before her words did, small smiles, brief glances, moments of softness she didn't hide. She respects your boundaries while staying engaged. She doesn't push too hard or overwhelm you. Instead, she finds a balance between closeness and space. A woman once showed consistent interest but never crossed into pressure. It made her presence feel calm, not demanding. She allows the connection to grow naturally without forcing direction. She doesn't rush labels, outcomes, or expectations. She lets things unfold. A man realized that nothing between them felt staged. Each moment built on the last without tension or urgency. Stoicism teaches patience and observation. Not everything needs immediate action. Not every signal requires a response. Your strength lies in your ability to remain steady while understanding what unfolds in front of you. Attraction is not proven in intensity, it is proven in consist HTML and CY. When actions repeat without confusion, when behavior aligns over time, the truth becomes clear without words. Remain disciplined. Do not let excitement turn into neediness. Do not let curiosity turn into overthinking. Stay centered in who you are. When it is real, it will not need to be forced. It will reveal itself through patterns that remain steady. Stay calm. Stay aware. Let reality show itself. She becomes more aware of the small moments you share. Attraction magnifies what others overlook. A brief interaction, a simple exchange, these moments stay with her. A man once made a passing comment and forgot about it. Days later, she brought it up with a smile. To him, it was nothing. To her, it mattered. She subtly adjusts her schedule to align with yours. Not in an obvious or forced way, but in patterns that repeat over time. He noticed that she began appearing during the same times he usually took breaks. It wasn't coincidence, it was quiet intention. She reacts to your absence. When you're not around, there's a shift. Her energy may lower slightly, or she may ask about you indirectly. At a regular meetup, when he missed a day, she casually asked others where he was. The question seemed simple, but the interest behind it was not. She holds on to conversations longer than expected. Even after they end, she keeps parts of them alive, through memory, follow-ups, or references. After a short talk, she later sent a message continuing the same topic. It showed she wasn't ready to let the moment fade. She becomes more expressive when it's just the two of you. Her personality opens up more fully in private than in groups. In a crowd, she was composed. Alone with him, she became more relaxed, more real, laughing more freely and speaking without filters. She subtly seeks reassurance through connection. Not directly asking for it, but finding comfort in your attention and presence. A man noticed that after stressful moments, she would find her way into conversation with him. It grounded her. She mirrors your pace of interaction. If you slow down, she slows down. If you engage more, she meets you there. Their conversations naturally found balance, never forced, always aligned. She shows interest in your opinions beyond casual conversation. She values how you think, not just what you say. A woman once asked for his perspective on something important to her. She didn't ask many people, but she asked him. She allows her guard to drop gradually over time. Attraction builds trust, and trust reveals authenticity. Over weeks, he noticed she became less guarded, her responses more natural, her reactions less controlled. She maintains a quiet consistency that doesn't fade. Not intense, not overwhelming, but steady. Always present in some form. Even with time passing, her behavior didn't change. She remained the same, engaged, attentive, and connected. Stoicism reminds you to value consistency over intensity. Anyone can show interest for a moment, but very few maintain it over time. What repeats itself calmly and naturally often carries the most truth. Do not let your emotions rush ahead of reality. Stay grounded in observation. Let actions confirm what words may never say. When attraction is genuine, it will not create confusion. It will create clarity through repeated behavior. Stay disciplined. Stay patient. Let things reveal themselves without force. She becomes more emotionally synchronized with your moods. When you're calm, she's calm. When you're excited, she lifts her energy to match you. It's not imitation for attention, it's alignment through attraction. A man once noticed that even in a mixed group, her emotional tone seemed to shift depending on his presence. Around others she was neutral, but with him, she mirrored his state. She gives you access to her softer side over time. Not everything at once, but gradually, small moments of vulnerability that show trust is building. During a quiet conversation, she once admitted something personal she never shared in groups. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real, and it marked a shift in their connection. She becomes more patient with misunderstandings. Instead of reacting quickly or withdrawing, she stays present and tries to understand you. A man once said something slightly unclear, and instead of correcting or walking away, she asked a follow-up question. She wanted clarity, not distance. She pays attention to how you treat others. Attraction isn't just about you, it includes how you behave in general. At an event, she observed how he interacted with strangers. Later, her respect for him increased, not because of what he said to her, but how he carried himself with everyone. She subtly prioritizes your opinion in decisions around her. Even when she doesn't openly ask, she considers your perspective. A woman once mentioned two options she was deciding between. Later, she chose the one he had casually shown preference for. She becomes more present in shared silence than in constant conversation. The connection shifts from talking to simply being. Sitting together without pressure to fill space, there was ease. No awkwardness, no rush, just shared presence that felt natural. She maintains emotional consistency around you. Her behavior doesn't fluctuate randomly. There's a steady tone in how she engages. Over time, a man noticed that her interactions with him didn't swing between extremes. She stayed balanced, engaged, and predictable in a calm way. She subtly integrates you into her thoughts about the future. Not direct plans, but small references that include you naturally. In conversation, she once said something like, "We might go there sometime," without realizing she had included him in her thinking. She becomes more expressive when you give her attention. Your focus draws out more of her personality. When he listened closely, she became more animated, more open, as if his attention unlocked a fuller version of her. She keeps the connection alive even when life is busy. Even during silence, she doesn't fully disconnect. Days without talking would still end with a message or check-in, keeping the thread between them intact. Stoicism teaches you not to become emotionally reactive to every signal. Instead, you observe, remain centered, and allow truth to reveal itself through repetition and time. Real attraction is not loud, it is stable, consistent, and calm. Do not rush interpretation. Do not chase validation. Let behavior speak clearly over time. When someone is truly drawn to you, you won't feel confusion, you will feel continuity. Stay composed. Stay observant. Stay grounded in yourself. She becomes more naturally curious about your thoughts. Not just what you're doing, but how you see the world. Attraction shifts interest from surface level to perspective. A man once noticed she stopped asking simple questions and started asking why questions, why he thinks a certain way, why he made certain choices. That shift showed deeper engagement. She subtly remembers your preferences and uses them later. Attraction sharpens memory for details that matter to her. He casually mentioned his preference for a certain drink weeks earlier. Later, she ordered it for him without asking. It wasn't random, it was attention stored and used. She becomes more sensitive to your approval or disapproval. Even small changes in your expression can influence her behavior. During a conversation, he slightly changed his tone. She immediately adjusted hers too, becoming more careful, more intentional in what she said next. She finds comfort in your presence during uncertainty. When things feel uncertain or stressful, she gravitates toward what feels emotionally stable, you. A man noticed she often reached out during difficult moments in her life, not for solutions, but for grounding energy. She allows herself to be seen without perfection. Attraction deepens when performance drops and authenticity increases. One day, she showed up less polished than usual. Instead of hiding it, she stayed relaxed around him. That comfort revealed trust. She becomes more responsive to small gestures from you. Even minimal attention from you carries more weight than expected. A simple check-in message from him would brighten her mood more than longer conversations with others. She maintains subtle emotional continuity between interactions. Even when time passes, the emotional tone between you doesn't reset, it continues. After days apart, she picked up the conversation as if nothing had broken the flow. The connection stayed intact in her mind. She shows interest in your silence, not just your words. She notices when you're quiet and tries to understand it rather than ignore it. A man once went unusually quiet during a group setting. She didn't interrupt him, but later checked in privately to understand him better. She becomes more thoughtful in how she expresses disagreement. Instead of challenging you directly, she softens her delivery to maintain connection. When she disagreed with something he said, she framed it gently, showing respect for the bond over ego. She keeps a steady emotional thread between you. Even without constant interaction, something between you feels ongoing. Weeks later, she still referenced earlier conversations naturally, showing the connection never fully reset. Stoicism teaches awareness without attachment. You observe patterns, but you don't become emotionally dependent on them. You remain centered, regardless of how someone behaves toward you. Attraction is not chaos, it is repetition. It is consistency in behavior across time. When something is real, it doesn't confuse you repeatedly, it confirms itself quietly. Your role is not to chase meaning in every action, but to see the pattern as a whole. Stay calm. Stay observant. Stay in control of yourself. When it is genuine, it will not require forcing. It will unfold with clarity over time. She becomes more comfortable initiating contact with you. Not just replying, but starting conversations herself. Attraction moves from reaction to initiation. A man once noticed that she began reaching out for no specific reason, small messages, random check-ins, simple "How are you?" texts that didn't need a purpose. She shows a quiet excitement when your name appears. Even when she tries to stay composed, there's a subtle shift in energy. A man once saw her phone notification light up with his name, and before she even opened it, her expression changed slightly, just enough to reveal anticipation. She becomes more forgiving of your imperfections. Small flaws that might bother her and others don't carry the same weight with you. He once made a small mistake during a conversation. Instead of reacting negatively, she smiled and moved past it effortlessly. She invests emotional energy in understanding you. She doesn't dismiss your moods or silence, she tries to interpret them. When he became distant for a short time, she didn't assume the worst. Instead, she gently checked in, showing emotional patience. She subtly compares others to you without saying it. Not openly, but through behavior and reactions. In a group setting, she would respond normally to others, but her engagement noticeably increased when interacting with him. She becomes more expressive in private conversations than public ones. There is a contrast between how she behaves in groups and how she is with you alone. A man noticed that she was reserved in public, but in private chats, she was open, expressive, and emotionally present. She lingers in conversations even when there's no clear topic left. The connection itself becomes the reason to stay engaged. Even after discussions ended naturally, she would find small things to continue talking about just to extend the interaction. She reacts more deeply to your absence than your presence. Sometimes attraction is revealed in what happens when you're not there. A man realized she became slightly quieter and more observant when he wasn't around, then more engaged when he returned. She becomes more emotionally transparent over time. Layers drop slowly as comfort builds. At first, she was reserved, but weeks later, she began sharing thoughts more openly, showing trust growing gradually. She treats your attention as something valuable, not guaranteed. Because of that, she doesn't take it lightly or ignore it. Even small compliments or messages from him were acknowledged with noticeable appreciation. She maintains a sense of continuity between emotional states with you. There's no reset button in the connection, it feels ongoing. After time apart, she returned to conversations without distance, as if nothing had broken the flow. Stoicism reminds you that perception must be grounded in reality, not desire. You are not meant to overinterpret, but to observe patterns clearly and calmly. Attraction, when genuine, does not rely on intensity or confusion. It shows itself through steady repetition, emotional consistency, and natural engagement over time. Your responsibility is to remain centered. Do not become dependent on signals or validation. Observe, understand, and maintain your composure. When something is real, it does not need to be forced or decoded endlessly. It simply continues in a stable pattern. Stay disciplined. Stay aware. Stay in control of yourself. She becomes more responsive to your emotional tone shifts. Not just what you say, but how you feel when you say it. Attraction makes people emotionally attuned. A man once noticed that when his mood changed slightly in conversation, she adjusted instantly, becoming softer when he was calm, more attentive when he was serious. She starts to value your attention even in small doses. A short message or brief interaction from you carries more meaning than long conversations with others. He once sent a simple, "You good?" text. Her response came quickly, with more warmth than expected for something so small. She shows interest in your daily rhythm. Not out of routine curiosity, but because your life pattern matters to her. She began asking casual questions like when he usually wakes up or how his day is going, as if mapping his world in her mind. She becomes more consistent in how she treats you compared to others. There's a noticeable stability in her behavior toward you that doesn't fluctuate. While she could be unpredictable with others, her tone and engagement with him stayed steady and familiar. She gives you access to her unfiltered thoughts more often. Over time, she speaks more freely, without overthinking every word. A man noticed she stopped editing herself as much during conversations, letting thoughts come out naturally around him. She becomes emotionally present even in simple interactions. Nothing feels rushed or transactional. Even a short exchange felt meaningful, as if she was fully there instead of mentally elsewhere. She subtly integrates you into her decision-making process. Not openly asking for permission, but considering your perspective in her choices. She once mentioned a plan and casually added how she thought he might feel about it, showing subconscious inclusion. She reacts more strongly to emotional distance than physical distance. When communication reduces, she notices quickly. A short period of silence led her to check in, not out of panic, but because the shift in emotional connection was felt. She becomes more patient in building rapport with you over time. She doesn't rush outcomes or push for clarity immediately. Instead, she allows the connection to develop gradually, without forcing direction. She shows a quiet form of loyalty through consistency. Even without declarations, her behavior remains directed toward you. Across time, she kept returning to conversation and engagement without needing reminders or pressure. She allows emotional familiarity to build naturally. The interaction starts to feel known, rather than new each time. A man realized that even after time apart, speaking to her felt like continuing something already established, not restarting. Stoicism teaches restraint in interpretation. You are not meant to attach meaning to every moment, but to observe long-term behavior patterns with clarity and patience. Attraction is revealed through consistency, not intensity. It is not the loud moments that matter most, but the repeated ones that stay stable over time. Your strength lies in emotional control. Not reacting too fast, not assuming too much, and not depending on validation to feel secure. When something is genuine, it does not create confusion repeatedly. It creates recognition through repetition. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay disciplined in yourself. She becomes more emotionally invested in your outcomes. Not in a controlling way, but she genuinely cares about how things go for you. A man once noticed she asked about something important he had coming up days later, not because he mentioned it again, but because she remembered and was invested in the result. She starts to associate you with emotional safety. When she's around you, she feels more relaxed, less guarded. One evening, after a stressful day, she naturally softened when speaking with him. Her tone changed as if his presence reduced her tension. She becomes more expressive when she feels your attention drifting. If you seem less engaged, she subtly increases her effort to reconnect. A man noticed that when he became quieter in conversation, she immediately started asking more questions, trying to pull him back into interaction. She shows curiosity about your perspective on relationships and life. Not general curiosity, but targeted interest in how you think and operate. She once asked him how he handles emotional situations, not for advice, but to understand his mindset. She becomes more open to long-term familiarity with you. The idea of consistent presence becomes normal, not unusual. Over time, she stopped treating interactions as isolated moments and started seeing them as part of an ongoing connection. She reacts more personally to your compliments than generic attention. When it comes from you, it carries weight. A simple compliment from him would make her pause slightly, as if processing it more deeply than usual praise. She starts to include you in her internal thoughts more often. Even when not speaking to you, you are part of her mental narrative. She once referenced something he said days earlier in a completely unrelated conversation, showing how present he remained in her mind. She becomes more emotionally transparent in small moments of weakness. Not full vulnerability, but brief, honest moments slip through. A man noticed she occasionally let her guard down during quiet conversations, revealing thoughts she didn't share publicly. She maintains a sense of emotional consistency even when life around her changes. Her behavior toward you remains steady regardless of external stress or distraction. Even during busy periods, she kept a familiar tone and presence when interacting with him. She shows subtle signs of attachment through routine behavior. Attraction often turns into habit before it becomes obvious. She began checking in at similar times or engaging in consistent patterns of contact without realizing it. She becomes more sensitive to emotional separation. Distance, even brief, feels noticeable in her behavior. When there was a short gap in communication, she re-engaged with slightly more warmth than usual, as if re-establishing connection. Stoicism reminds you not to overattach meaning to every gesture, but to observe consistency over time. Real understanding comes from patterns, not moments. Attraction is not defined by intensity or drama. It is defined by repetition, stability, and natural continuity in behavior. Your role is to remain grounded and aware, not emotionally reactive. Do not chase signals. Do not inflate meaning. Observe calmly and think clearly. When something is real, it continues without force. It does not confuse, it confirms itself through steady behavior over time. Stay composed. Stay observant. Stay centered in yourself. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery. Follow me for more insights on human behavior, attraction, and self-mastery.